Mercedes is in trouble for 2026. They haven't fought for a title since 2021 and have only since fought for sporadic wins. They haven't been able to get a grasp on these current regulations, and it's why Hamilton called the 24 car the worst car that he's ever driven. So with a fresh start and a new set of regulations in 2026, why is Mercedes in trouble? First, we have to start with what's changing in 2026 and maybe some of the things that aren't changing in 2026. It's going to be an absolutely massive overhaul. It's going to be one of, if not the biggest overhaul of regulations in Formula One history. Lots of things are changing, like there's going to be active aero, there will be front and rear wings that can switch between modes like low drag and high drag mode to balance the much bigger difference in electrical power versus the internal combustion engine. The DRS is going to be going away, and there will be a manual override button, kind of like push to pass that we see in, like, I believe IndyCar. The cars are also supposed to be a little smaller and maybe a little lighter. The wheelbase is going down, so they're going to be a little narrower, and the tires are also going to be a little narrower as well. So all of that creates a bit less grip and ideally more nimble cars. Power unit is, of course, changing very dramatically. There will be no more MGU-H, which was one of the more complex and expensive parts of the engine since 2014. The electrical power is increasing, and it's going to more of a 50-50 split between electric and the internal combustion engine. It's also going to be on 100% sustainable fuel. Interestingly enough, what's not changing is going to be the fact that the cars are still ground effect concept cars. The cars are still going to continue to make most of their downforce from the floor / the Venturi tunnels. The downforce and the drag is supposed to be decreasing, so hopefully that's going to improve racing. So with all of those changes, it seems like it could be a good opportunity for Mercedes to potentially hit the reset button and start being more competitive again. But I think there's some reasons why that might not be the case. So next, let's get into some of their past struggles over the past few years. There's two things that show how Mercedes has really struggled in the past few years. One is going to be from the drivers' input and what they have been telling the media over the years. And the second is going to just be the results and how they've shown that they haven't quite understood these regulations. There's honestly been some really punchy and really outspoken quotes from Lewis Hamilton and George Russell in the past about how difficult the Mercedes cars have been in the ground effect era. We saw in Brazil 2024, Lewis Hamilton said that with the car I have right now, it's the worst I've ever driven. It's undrivable. George Russell in 2024, after his crash at the Mexican Grand Prix, he said, honestly, I don't know what happened. Just the car started bouncing on the ground, and before I even had a chance to catch it, I was already spinning. It seems like it's one thing after another at the moment. It's frustrating. FP1, we were very, very strong, very fast, tried to take the same line, cutting that corner, and for whatever reason, on this occasion in FP2, the thing just started going on me. Total Wolff even has rung in on the conversation in 2023 in Miami. He said the car is not fast enough, and we haven't got any comprehension on why that is. We're P1 and P2 in one session, and the next it's P6 and P13. It's just not acceptable. I take no enjoyment from finishing 6th or 8th or 7th, and even if it was 5th, I took no enjoyment, either because it's a lack of comprehension of what it is that makes this car such a nasty piece of work. So those are some really punchy quotes from the drivers and even the team principal as well about how they just haven't been able to get a grip on these regulations and how tricky the car has been to drive over the years. Another piece to show why they've struggled during this time is the results. We've seen not the worst results, but it has been a mixed bag, and we haven't seen any championships since 2021. In 2022, Mercedes finished 3rd. 2023, they finished 2nd, but we're still quite some ways off of Red Bull. And in 2024, they finished 4th, so even worse in 2024. And this year, they're really fighting for the pieces. I mean, they're kind of in a fight for P2 with Ferrari and Red Bull, but honestly, there's a good chance that they'll wind up P3 or P4 by the end of the year here. Now, all of this really highlights the fact that Mercedes just has not been able to understand the ground effect concept for their cars. Between their struggles porpoising in years prior and creating an unpredictable and tricky car, Mercedes has really struggled to make a balanced and fast car in different conditions across multiple tracks. The team can't seem to correctly directly correlate wind tunnel and CFD and simulator gains with reality on track. And what's most concerning about all that is that they'll put an upgrade on the car and they won't know why it did or did not work. It's one thing for the team to have a few upgrades that don't work or maybe struggle for a year or two, but it's been such a consistent theme since 2022 without any real signs of understanding or consistent improvement that makes it so concerning for Mercedes. So all of that leads us into a direction of why Mercedes is in trouble for 2026 despite it being a new set of regulations. Let's not forget with these regulations, the cars are still going to be ground effect cars. They're still going to be getting the majority of the downforce from the floors, and that's what Mercedes has really struggled with over the years. Just because the calendar flips over to a new year with a new set of regulations, none of that is going to magically fix all of their problems. All of their concepts, their workflows, their data correlation from 2025 and the years prior all roll into 2026. The cars change, but that floor-led philosophy remains, and then the active aero just adds another layer of model and track validation that they need to get right. If they haven't cracked the correlation for these ground effect cars by late 2025, then there's a good chance that they're going to be starting 2026 on the back foot. If all of their models aren't predicting reality, and that seems to be the case for them, then successfully upgrading the car is going to be quite difficult, and that's been a big weak spot for Mercedes in the past years. Much of the talk of 2026 has been about the engines, and understandably so, and you might argue that just because they don't have the best understanding of the ground effect concept that they can still do well because so much other stuff is changing. But even if they do end up producing a great engine in 26, that doesn't guarantee their success by any stretch of the imagination if their chassis isn't good. You can just ask Red Bull from 2014 to 2020 how that worked out for them. So if Mercedes hasn't been able to understand this current set of rules for the past 4 years, why should we really have faith in them hitting the ground running in 2026 with another set of rules that still have that underlying ground effect concept? So all this feels pretty doom and gloom for Mercedes, and it very well might be because it's been a rough spell for them given their past championship glory over the turbo hybrid era. So is there really any hope for Mercedes? I think absolutely so. Mercedes has enough recent multiple championship winning seasons to still give them the benefit of the doubt that they can turn it around, at least for now anyways. They also aren't starting from completely zero. They haven't been absolutely appalling, they're just missing those last few tenths of a second to turn podiums into titles again. They remain one of F1's best funded teams and one of the most capable teams on the grid with a ton of talented people who can turn the ship around. So there's no reason to believe that they're guaranteed to fail in 2026. They also, of course, have not only that great championship winning experience, but the power unit pedigree. Mercedes absolutely nailed the regulations in 2014 when things dramatically changed to the turbo hybrid era. And while that isn't guaranteed to happen in 2026, that past experience is going to play a big role in this new set of rules. A great power unit isn't going to necessarily make up for all of the pitfalls of a bad chassis, but it certainly can make a big difference, and it could be the deciding factor next year. So with all that said, Mercedes isn't guaranteed to fail or succeed in 2026, of course, but I am genuinely worried for them. Not because the rules are resetting everything, but because some of the things are not being reset. The floor is still going to be king. Correlation is going to be ever more important between their simulator and CFD work and on-track performance, and that's something that they have really struggled with in recent years. Unless Mercedes manages to overhaul how their ideas move from the tunnel to the sim to the tarmac, 2026 could feel like 2024 and the years prior, just with a new set of paint. So those are my thoughts on why I think Mercedes is going to be in trouble in 2026. Let me know down in the comments below if you feel a similar way or if you think they're going to do just fine. Would love to hear your thoughts down below. Give the video a like and hit that subscribe button if you want to see more F1 content. Thank you all for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.